My guest today on Great Dane Nation is one of the elite kickers in the NFL today. His journey is amazing. It's not without bumps in the road, but he has persevered. And I can't wait to talk to Brandon McManus. Brandon, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you? Appreciate coming on a Legends podcast. So thank you for having me.
So let me start at Peyton Manning's after party. We met there for the first time, and my producer, Tom, was saying, man, I want to introduce you to Brandon. And he said you were starstruck. So I figured because Tom Brady and Peyton Manning was in the room, you were kind of, a little taken aback. I certainly was, but that wasn't the case. You were there. You were kind of fired up to meet me, which I appreciate.
Grew up watching you, and just a tremendous career. And I played for, I'm 30 now, but at the time, you played for longer than I was born. Just really enjoyed watching you. You transcended the game with accuracy and power, and you took kicking to a whole other level and made it fun and cool for a lot of us guys that were young. So it was an honor and pleasure to meet you there, and just a couple of kickers hanging, with the greatest football players of all time. Obviously, you being one of them with that beautiful bus behind you.
I appreciate you saying that. The game has come a long way. When I started in 1982, we were just coming out of the Middle Ages as far as kicking. You still had a few straight-on guys, Mark Mosley, Rich Danmeyer, Steve Cox. And those guys were great, but it became an obsolete way to kick. I mean, the soccer-style kicker, really the first guy, the Gogolak brothers, but then really Jan Stenerud kind of took it to another level. And I felt like my generation, the Gary Anderson, Jason Hansons, Eddie Murrays, the Pete Stojanoviches, Nick Lowry, and myself, we kind of modernized it, right? We kind of took it to become a viable weapon to the kicking position, where people had to scheme, had to pay attention to that position, where before it was kind of an afterthought. And then your generation has now taken it to a whole nother level, Brandon. I kicked around 80% for 25 years. I know you're around 81, 82% right now, I think, in your career. You got Justin Tucker at 90+%. And, when I was looking at some research for you, Brandon, it blew my mind because my first year salary was $40,000. You're averaging over $4 million. Okay, it's out there. It's not a secret.
Right.
Justin is at $5 million.
Right.
My first question to you is, where's my scratch? We blazed the way here. I still have not seen a check, Brandon. What's going on?
Well, you said what you made your first year. I don't know what you ended up making your last year, but
about $1 million. About $1 million.
But no, obviously. Like you said, you guys transcended the game, and now it's become more of a financial and lucrative position as well.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable.
Especially, it's funny when you compare it now. There's a lot of kickers who win games nowadays, and it comes down to it more. It's more crucial and critical than ever. Yeah. But the running back position is one that I pay attention to a lot, and it has taken a big hit in the market as well. They just continue to go to a younger guy, which is kind of the process for kickers as well. Once you kind of an older kicker kind of gets priced out or yada yada, they'll try to get a rookie and new guy to replace you. So the running back position is similar, but the running back position really doesn't make a lot of money either. And there's probably more kickers that make more money almost than half the starting running backs in the NFL, which is funny and good for me and Tucker and
good for you guys, yeah, for sure. But the running back also, to your point. If you look at the game today, it's a passing game. And so that running back, it really becomes another receiver now, right?
Yep, I completely agree. So obviously it's been good. We continue, hopefully we continue to set the bar high and continue to try and, take it to whole other levels.
Yeah, you have. And back to the Peyton Manning party, and, he's doing that that ManningCast. What do you, have you checked it out, and what do you think about how the guys are doing?
Yeah, I've watched it. Playing with him and his humor. So I've only watched his ManningCast. Last week they didn't do it, but
right.
No, the humor that they have with each other. before, you talked about kind of my story a little bit of, the troubles I went through, but
we'll get to that. Yeah.
So I was with the Giants for a preseason, so I had a chance to meet and play a little bit with Eli, and then I was traded from Eli to Peyton. It was a cool, very cool thing for me to experience, and just to watch them two together. Obviously, I think Eli got in a little bit of trouble, for
the double Latino, the Philly double Latino.
Yeah. So, but that's just who they are. They are very charismatic, funny people. Really enjoy it, and so knowledgeable of the game. Just to hear them talk and break things down about certain plays, what they would do, and what Derek Carr was reading in one game, and yada yada. It's super informative for a lot of football fans.
Take me through so when you're on the sideline, at least this is me, I did follow the game, but it wasn't to the point where I would get emotionally involved too much, because I felt like when we crossed the 50-yard line, I would put on the hard hat, I'd put on the helmet, because you're a first down away from a field goal. Did you have a similar kind of thought process on that? Because I just felt like if I was too invested in the game and analytical during the game, it would take the focus away from the way I needed to prepare.
It's a good question. I'd like to think that I'm not analytical, but I know I am. But similar to you, once you get to a certain point towards that 50-yard line or where you're getting down in there, it's completely all, I got to get ready for my potential job. I've just grown up, watching football since I was 3 years old, going to Eagles games. My dad was a season ticket holder. I just love the sport, and I'd like to think I'm one of the most knowledgeable people in it. And I really enjoy it and understand kind of the situations of kicking. Obviously with special teams and kicking, there are so many situations that go into that in special teams that I've really studied and really enjoyed kind of the art of it. So, but once I kind of, like similar to you, once you kind of get towards the 50-yard line, and I kind of have a routine of once even the offense gets the ball, even if it's on our 20-yard line after a touchback or something, I'll at least get 2 kicks in, just in case, a big return breaks or something. I'm starting to kind of prep my mind for that. And then, like as you said, as we kind of get down the field, I want to give the punter a chance if he needs to warm up and this and that. But once we kind of get close to the midfield there, I'm pretty much locked and loaded about, what I need to do. If it's windy, what do I got to start thinking about, things like that.
Yeah, I think for me anyway, Brandon, I had the situational awareness of here's the flow of the game. I always tried, and I think as I got older, got more experience, maybe that's a better way to say it, more kicks under my belt, I tried not to play the game. What I mean by I let the game come to me. What I mean by that is some younger guys, and I don't know if you have this feeling, if I can kind of get you to think back to your very first couple of years in the NFL, we tended to be a little over anxious and eager to want to go out there. If I don't get a kick let me get off to a good start. Let me get that first kick in the first quarter and I'm rolling. But if that kick didn't come till the third quarter or at the end of the half, you'd be impatient and you would get in your own way. Whereas when you matured a little bit, you let the game come to you and you say, hey, my ability is right here. My workbench, I'm able to perform at a high level in any given situation. My positive behavior is dominant. I'm going to plug myself into the situation and when it presents itself. I think that really helped me my later years. Does that make sense to you? And does that resonate? Does that resonate at all with you?
Yeah, it does. I definitely see, especially depending on how you're kicking as well during a season as well. Let's say you're not performing well. You're kind of tending, hey, let me get a good kick out of the way. That way I continue to do good. So I would say that for sure when I was younger. It is obviously better to kind of get the first kick over with, per se, as people do. But I'd say, I just had a game this past week where I just had an extra point, maybe at the end of the first quarter. I didn't kick again the rest of the game. So you have games like that. But as you know, the game might be in reach. It still might only be 7-7, and you have to wait 3 quarters to kick the game-winning field goal. And it just comes down to, it helps obviously being, I've probably experienced every possible kick, a kicker can experience now in my career. So
yes.
The experience of having that, of kind of the ups and downs of it and knowing what to do and how to prepare myself, definitely helps. So I think over the years, obviously, you get wiser. You learn how to take care of your body. You learn how to prep. And obviously, it's the main key in trying to stay successful and play for a long time.
So I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want to hear your take on it from your perspective with your experience in a game. I was really ill. I had the flu one game. We're playing Dallas. I'm with the Giants. Jason Garrett is my holder. Jason Garrett, now offensive coordinator for the Giants. He was head coach for the Cowboys, of course, and a great quarterback, mostly backup through his playing career. Anyway, I go out in warm-ups in Dallas and literally cannot make a field goal in warm-ups. I mean, I think I made maybe 2 or 3 kicks. Jason's thinking to himself, but he didn't tell me this until I had him on my show a couple of weeks ago. He said, man, this is not going to be good. It's going to be a terrible game. Well, in the game, I went 5 for 5, somehow found this ability to refocus when I was sick. Have you ever been really sick in a game? You had a terrible warm-up, but you were able to somehow get it together in a regular season game. Does this make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I have a big smile on my face because actually it happened twice. I wasn't sick. I don't know what my issue was, but
just off.
Twice last season, and both of them were similar to what you said. Were incredible games. The first one was at the New York Jets. It was a Thursday night football game, and I really didn't like the turf that they had. It was super soft and spongy. And for me, being a super tall guy at 6'4", for some reason, I kept sinking down so much. So you said you made 2 kicks somewhere else. And so right before I did all my whole warm up, I'm like, I got to do something. So I went and put on an extra pair of socks as well to try to think if maybe I could get a centimeter taller, in my plant foot so I don't sink down as much. So I had a really good game. I had 2 50-yarders in the last 2 minutes. To help us win the game. And then the next week, I don't know if it was the next week, I think it was the next week as well. We were playing in New England, and I don't know why, again, there was no excuse for that one for the turf or anything. But, I didn't have the greatest one, but it wasn't near as bad. And then I set my career record day, 6 for 6 field goals. And we won all 8, I had all 18 points to help us win the game. So I know exactly, I've been a firm believer in, I'm in the NFL for a reason, and I'm talented enough. If I have a bad warm-up, it shouldn't translate to the game. And if I have a great warm-up, I still got to be locked in and focused for the game. You don't want to place it and go through it that way. Yeah,
you were actually AFC Special Teams Player of the Week following that game. You've had a few of those. It's a good feeling, validation. But it wasn't easy, man. You're from, you went to Temple. I read somewhere you were actually thinking about becoming a surgeon. Is that something you can share with me?
Yeah, I went to school for biology pre-med. I think the chances of being a doctor are still difficult, but the percentages of being a doctor are probably higher than making it in the NFL, I'm sure. So, that was one of my realistic goals, I guess, for, my education. So I went to school for biology pre-med to be an orthopedic surgeon, and I worked my butt off, to continue to try and make my childhood dream of being in the NFL happen. And, took a little bit, but, I was able to make through and break through.
Yeah, you had you were a dominant kicker and punter at Temple. You hold all sorts of records there at the school, all-time points leader in Temple history. And you graduate there in 13, Brandon. Then you're signed as an undrafted free agent with the Colts, but you get cut before the season. So, they had someone there named Adam Vinatieri. We've all heard of him, obviously.
Yep.
He'll have a gold jacket here shortly. So what was it like coming into that first NFL training camp, knowing that one of the best kickers ever was in that place? And what were your impressions of Adam?
Yeah, it was really, obviously, if not one of the best locations I could have went to. One, learning from him, and two, I was trying to be somewhat competitive in the fact that he was probably coming off his 2 worst seasons of his career. And if you look through his stats, I think the worst is maybe he's only a couple of times ever in the 70%, low 70s. So one, I wanted to learn from him and potentially, I knew I might have a chance to make it if possible. And I knew I would get a chance in the preseason with him being older. I would get a lot of kicks in the preseason to help, expose myself to the league. So, but going there, I was hanging with Adam there at Peyton's party as well. And, still remain great friends to this day. And I've really enjoyed my friendship with him. And what learning from him was, just wanted to be a sponge. As we talked about situations, he's, kicked 3 Super Bowl game-winning field goals. And so learning, the mental aspect of the game. And people always ask me, what is the game? Is it 70% mental, 50% mental? And I always say it's 90% mental and the other 10% is mental as well. It is.
That's good. I like that.
It's a constant battle with yourself. Yeah. I mean, we all, a lot of people, there's probably, 10,000 kickers that probably have the same talent in this world as the 32 jobs, but there's probably only 32 of them. And well, there's less than 32 probably that can keep their job for a long time mentally. So that's why I really hone in on the mental aspect of it and constantly trying to work on it. And like you said, it's a positive affirmation for yourself. And just talking with Adam, it was incredibly valuable for me. And I've like I said, stayed friends with him to this day, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was a mechanical kicker, meaning I was analytical in the sense that I was trying to be very precise in my pre-kick routine and very precise through the run-up, the plant, and all those things. Where a Gary Anderson, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way, Gary was a feel guy. I think Adam was more of a feel guy, kinesthetic guy, where he just had the spacing right, and he kept it very simple, just like Gary did. I have the feeling you're more of a mechanical guy. Tell me what you think you are.
I don't know. It depends on who you would talk to for that.
I'm talking to you. I want to know you.
I would probably say no, more free flowing. Kickoffs for sure, free flowing. Sometimes I'll kick off for my field goal steps 3 yards. I'll go 5 yards without doing any steps, similar to that Janikowski, or he would just walk off.
Oh, no, crazy!
I don't do that for my field goals. I don't trust myself for that.
Friggin' insane!
I know. It's incredible what he did. But there is a point to me where I'm sure it's happened to you, where I've hit a great kick and it missed, and I've hit bad kicks and it's gone in. It's just the nature of the business. But I'm mechanical and analytical in the sense of I know before I even kick the ball whether I made it or not. I can feel body pressure. I can feel where I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to be at. That I'd say, is more of my mechanical. And I need to know I need to be here. Then, the 99% chance I'll make the kick.
I think you're a hybrid then. I think everybody who's at a very high level is able to tap into a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I talk about the moment of truth a lot. The moment of truth for a kicker is when the plant foot hits the ground. You're either right or wrong. And I think that's what you're kind of alluding to. You know right away. Before foot hits ball if you're in jail or if you're free-flowing, if you will, down the target line. And it's a real shitty feeling, isn't it? When you man, that plant foot's too close to the ball. I'm pushing this ball's getting pushed, in my case, left, and in your case, right. So it's sure nice when you have that wide plant and you can clear the hip down the target line. That's a great feeling, isn't it?
For sure. And once the plant hits, or you start to feel that momentum down towards the ball. It's
I know
exactly what it's supposed to do.
So after the Colts, I'm just jumping around a little bit here, but then you land in New York with the Giants, but you're traded really before week 1 because Matt Prater was suspended there for 4 games, and you come to Denver, and How difficult was that first season with you? Was there ever a time where you go, man, this is a grind, right? I was cut from the Colts. I was traded from the Giants. Now I'm in Denver. I'm in rarefied air. That's certainly a nice asset to have as a kicker, right? The ball travels a little further. But how difficult was the first year? You kept grinding, though. You kept it rolling, and it wasn't steady employment at that point. Let's talk a little bit about when the aha moment came for you. Or was there ever a time when you go, shit, I don't know if I'm going to make this,
Yeah, I think so. Something I wanted to do that, you will know, and a lot of younger kickers would understand is I was originally kind of a 3-step kicker. I had a small jab step and then went to my next 2 steps. Now when I was in Indianapolis for the preseason and the Giants for the preseason, I was perfect, never missed a field goal. Obviously with a strong leg, was kicking all touchbacks. It was not a problem. So, I was hoping I'd get a chance, for a job. Now, when I was making the kicks, though, they all weren't dead center. Obviously, you prefer to have a kick dead center, continue to kick the same ball every time. I wasn't doing that. So I was kind of getting away with not dumb luck, but some luck. And so going to Denver, I knew I wanted to get rid of my jab step for sure, but I wasn't going to do it my first real opportunity of kicking. No. So, was in Denver, did okay in the beginning part of the season. I had 2 50-yarders I missed, and and 2 38-yarder, which was my kind of first that they ended up cutting me after against the Miami Dolphins. It was snowing. I hit the upright on. And then my other kick, I missed the upright. So I had 2 50-yarders and 2 off the upright. The other one was in New England. So I was like, man, now my dumb luck that was helping me is almost against me now with the 2 uprights. And so they released me and they signed Connor Barth, and they signed me the next week to continue to kick off. Well, in that 1 week, I completely removed the jab step. And so probably within 2 to 3 weeks, I was comfortable kicking field goals again. Obviously, I wasn't doing it the rest of that season, but continued to do it there throughout that season in practice, kicked off the rest of the year. And then when training camp came around, I earned my job back, and I had arguably the greatest postseason ever. That season, 10 for 10.
Unbelievable. Yeah, you were a stud, man.
To me, that was kind of my aha moment. Was I had to go through, unfortunately, some negative stuff. I give John Elway crap all the time about cutting me for there, but I understand the nature of the business. Especially with Peyton wanting to win, and obviously his love and hate for kickers, as we all know.
Oh yeah.
But no, I knew I needed to do that. I wasn't going to do it my first opportunity in the NFL to remove that jab step, but I did it, just enough for right amount of time for me to continue to succeed.
Yeah, 2015, man, that was you win the starting job. You never look back, as you say, and you became the 3rd kicker in that season in NFL history to hit 3 field goals of 56 plus. Now I was the first guy to hit 3 over 50 back in 1995. Now a whole bunch of guys have done it, right? So that's impressive in itself. But then, like you said, 10 field goals, in the playoffs, 3 in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 50. You guys beat the Panthers 24-10. Those are big kicks right there, big moments, helping your team hoist the Lombardi. That was awesome. And as you mentioned, 6 for 6 there, and that 18-12 win at Gillette was another big highlight. And you just keep adding on to it, man, solidifying your records and your legacy. It's fun to watch. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about the Broncos today. As you sit here, I need to mention that we're recording this before your 5th game against Pittsburgh. So we're taping this before, and airing it. So, you've had a great start to the season, right? You're 3-1. Is this where you thought you'd be here in the AFC West? I mean, this is a hell of a division you got going here. What were expectations for this team high? I mean, it seems to me when you look at your roster, and I talked to Steve Atwater about this. I had him on. He said, bottom to top on this roster, as talented as any football team in the league. Do you feel like you have one of the most complete rosters in the NFL? And are you where you thought you'd be?
Yeah, I think, we've had we're such a storied and winning tradition. And then the past couple of years have not been that at all. So it's at least some of the older guys who've been here who have tasted that winning. But one of the unique things, like Steve was talking about our roster, is I've never seen so many rookies ready to play. Obviously, we drafted Patrick Surtain. His father played in the league, and I mean, he is as good as advertised. He's ready to play. We had a young safety in the 4th round, Caden Stearns, who looks like a young Justin Simmons, who was the highest paid safety in the league. So I think this is was a good mesh this year more than ever. Was such pro ready rookies, a bunch of vets that were really tired of losing. And then we brought Teddy Bridgewater in, who was kind of a nice glue, new change in leadership and help, motivate us in the right way, not just, doing everything, you're supposed to do, but, checking in on everybody and elevating their preparation and their gameplay to match his. So obviously we played every week in the NFL is difficult. You see an undefeated team lose to a defeated team, but coming out the season, we thought we would have a good chance to get out, to a 3-0 start. And then we knew this kind of coming in here will be our tough stretch of playing some good AFC North teams, and then the Cleveland Browns. And as you mentioned, the AFC West, if not, the NFC West is looking very strong, but the AFC West, top to bottom looks, very difficult as well. So continue to try to hang in there with them. And we have to beat the Chiefs, at the end of the year. They have been dominant in our division, and we have to, at least go 1-for-1 with them and hopefully 2-0 this year.
So it sounds to me when you talk about the strength of the Denver Broncos in year 2021, the defense might be what you're kind of alluding to. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think, it's an incredibly tough defense. Our head coach is a defensive-driven guy. And we've had great, weapons on offense. We got Cortland Sutton back. Jerry Judy's been injured. He'll be coming back here, I think, shortly in a couple of weeks. And so we have the capability of scoring points, but I think a lot of it's driven off the defense, continuing to limit the amount of plays that the defense is on the field, keep our offense on the field. Obviously, that's the recipe for everybody. But our defense has a natural ability of a bunch of playmakers from the Von Miller up front, to two incredible safeties and actually our whole defensive backfield, with Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby. We have a chance to really take the ball away and make it difficult.
Yeah, you mentioned Von Miller. He was AFC Defensive Player of the Month in September. How important is it to have him back at full strength? Huge.
An all-time sack leader here in Denver Broncos history. A transcendent player, such a speed rusher that really stretches and makes the offensive tackles job very difficult. I love watching him play. Every time the offensive coaches have to scheme against him. They have running backs chipping him, tight ends, extra linemen, always double teaming him. So it helps free up some other players that can kind of shine and make their names heard as well. And having him, he stepped in the role being more of a leader, really lending his hand out to teach players, to include them into a lot of things that he's doing off the field, on the field, educating in the film room. It's been awesome, and super excited for him to continue his success. He's been back from injury now twice. He tore his ACL years ago, then now this season being injury last year. Really excited to see him back out there on the field.
All right. I have said many times now, and I will stand by this statement, we're going to see a 70-yard field goal soon, and it's probably going to be in Denver. And so this begs the question that we just saw Justin Tucker hit a 66-yarder at sea level. Great kick, big kick, game winner. You have the leg for it. You've had opportunities, but weren't afforded the opportunity. I remember you were frustrated on one occasion when we don't have to rehash that. But given the opportunity, do you see yourself hitting one from 70 yards?
Yeah, obviously, I definitely think I have the capability to do it. I don't know if it necessarily has to be in Denver, but it does have to be early in the season. I definitely would say September. I really don't mind kicking. We were in Jacksonville week 2, and it was kind of muggy out. But to me, the ball was just flying off my foot. I was making 70 in warmups.
Wow.
So I do think it has to be warm. There's no denying that. I'm not a huge indoor kicker out of domes. I much prefer grass for me specifically.
Really?
So I think for me, like the Tucker 66, was pretty impressive, indoors. Now there's definitely times where, you still kick the ball far indoors, but I prefer grass and the feel of outside. I don't know why that is, but it is. So I think as long as it's, early in the season and warm, it could be done outside of Denver, at least for someone like myself. It's probably Matt Prater, I think, could still do it. He came up short from 68 by a yard.
Sirline.
So, yeah, Greg could definitely do it for sure. He actually kicked probably the furthest ball I've ever seen is maybe 4 or 5 years ago in Denver, from like 74 or something. And he didn't make it, but he cleared it. He definitely cleared it, but it was incredible. So it's a small amount from that crazy distance, but as you said, I think it could be done eventually.
So my only Denver Broncos story is that I hit a kickoff through the end zone, 6 yards into a stand, and hit a guy beer, knocked it out of his hand on a kickoff, and the crowd went crazy. We got killed, but I think it was like the opening kickoff of the game. That's the only time I saw the field.
He probably tried to send you an invoice for that beer too. Yeah.
It was a bang. Hey, what about this? I had Roger Goodell on the show a little while ago, and I said, Roger, why don't we afford you talk to the rules committee, and let's change this rule. You guys love to tinker with the kickers. You love to mess with us and make it more difficult for us because we're getting better. How about affording us 4 points for a 60-yard field goal? What do you think about that, Brian?
No, I think it's potentially a good idea. I think, let me off the top of my head, on average, you probably make 0 60-yarders per season, maybe one on average for throughout the whole season, the whole league. So
but maybe it would force people to do that more. It's a fun play.
Right. And that's why I'm saying it's not something egregious that would change the game where there's a bunch of 4-pointers all over the place, because as you and I know, it's still difficult to make those kicks from that distance. But I do think it's a unique thing. I know that they tinkered maybe with the 1-point kickoff through the uprights for numbers like that too. But I do think I'm a firm believer in at least changing the stats to show 60 to 69-yard field goals because I know for myself, my 50-yard field goal percentage should be a lot higher, but I have a lot of 60-yarders that I haven't made. So me personally would love a 60-yard stat line, but I do think, they love to tinker us, like you said, changing the extra point rules, the kickoff rules, and all these different things because we've gotten better and better and better. They don't make Tom Brady. They don't make Tom Brady throw the ball underhand, because he's breaking all these records.
Right.
I don't know why they keep picking on us. I know why they do. I think that'd be very unique and add a lot of strategy to the game. Definitely certain situations you can get 4 points. Because as you see, a lot of times there are games that in that 4-point range, 24, to 20, 35, 31 is a big number. So having a field goal like that could really, make the game more exciting.
There's one more rule change I brought up to the commissioner, and I think this one has to change again. They changed it, the onside kick. They took away the 5-5. Can't overload it. You have to go 5-5 now. You can't overload. Can't take a running start. I was one of the first guys to do that big bounce, 12 yards, right at the numbers. We would overload, and we'd go play basketball and rebound. It was a beautiful play. And it was actually like a 1 in 3 proposition at the time. Now we're at 4 to 6% success rate on onside kicks. They basically took that exciting play and made it a null and void play.
Right.
In your opinion, don't you think we ought to go back to the old onside kick rule?
I for sure think on onside kicks, you should be able to have at least the 5-yard head start of running. I'm all for still being able to overload, 6 people or whatever it may be to do that on onside kicks. Now, I'm fine with that because we have to designate those as the kicks that we're going to hit. You can't just say you're going to do it and then kick it deep. Obviously, I think you can throw a flag on that. That's fine. But for designated onside kicks, I do think the 4 to 6% is way too low because you're really taking a team out who has made an incredible comeback or something, and the 4% chance is nothing. And you kind of ruin, in my sense, the flow of the game and the excitement of potentially back when you played and just before these rule changes, you had to be on your game on the hands team. There were onside, or else the team would recover it. Now those guys can make mistakes, yada yada, but it's so impossible for the people to get there fast enough or can't do it. So I'm a huge in favor of at least giving the 5-yard head start on kickoffs. But I do think if we should be able to scheme it up any way you want to give your chance to get the ball back.
You know, we used to use that play a lot more as a surprise element. So we would go surprise onside kick. And it used to be very effective. And to my point, when the Saints played the Colts, they opened the second half with a surprise onside kick. I don't know if you remember that. It changed the whole game. Tom Morstead changed the whole game. It was unbelievable. And so I'd love to see that back. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Favorite kick of your career, my man?
Active or growing up? There might be two. I was a big David Akers fan growing up in Philadelphia. You know, I loved watching David Akers. Like I said, I was going to games since I was 3 years old, you know, watching him kind of warm up and stuff like that. So watching him, you know, was very cool. And then, you know, playing at Temple, playing in the same stadium, the Eagles Stadium, was a cool experience for me as well. And, you know, I've played my first game in Philadelphia. I had, I don't know, 180 tickets that I got for people, you know.
Wow.
I didn't pay for them all, but I you know, at least facilitated to get them. And, you know, I had 2 50-yarders in my first NFL game back in Philadelphia as well. So I loved watching David Akers. And then one of my current, I'd say a young guy who's, you know, really been pretty good. I think Harrison Butker's been pretty good. Young guy coming up with some big kicks. Tucker's, you know, to me is arguably the greatest of all time, most consistent, I'd say. It's the Adam is probably the most clutch of all time, you know, with his Super Bowl kicks. But Tucker's, I've really enjoyed watching him continue to. It's tough to always stay at the top for all these years, and he's done a tremendous job of doing that. So,
what's your favorite place to kick outside a Mile High?
Probably Arrowhead Stadium. I love kicking in Kansas City. The fans are good. The rivalry is great. I've always performed pretty well there. So I would say there is probably one of my favorite places to kick.
Do you have like a least favorite? I had mine. You know.
There's two. Cincinnati's not very fun. I'll tell you that. It's usually pretty windy. Like I said, I prefer grass, especially on outdoor stadiums. So Cincy, and then Tennessee was kind of tough. I played there once, and it was incredibly windy. And it wasn't like a fun win where you knew where it's going to go. It was like pick your poison and you know, hope it goes in. How about you?
Exactly.
How about you?
Well, I had a difficult time in Candlestick. This was before they moved to Santa Clara. It was a baseball field, and you would come from dirt to grass or grass to dirt. It was a mess. I mean, you didn't know. I mean, you had a cleat issue, you had a plant issue, and it was just very difficult, very windy on the bay there. Cold.
I attempted at the time to tie the NFL record 64 out of the dirt, and it was my closest one to making the record kick. The returner couldn't return it. It went above him and just below the crossbar, but dead center. But I was kicking off the dirt, so you know you can't really lean into it because you're going to slip. So
that's a tough one there. So it's always interesting. But I played in all 32 stadiums, and at least the old ones. Now there's a few new ones I haven't had a chance to go to.
This year,
Brandon, I know you got a meetings. Yeah,
Well, I said this year. After I play in Dallas, I'll have scored a point in all 32 stadiums as well. So it'll be cool.
That is cool.
I'll be joining you in that category. So
that is cool. That is fun. Couple of names at the end here, and whatever comes to mind when I mention the name, just let me hear your thoughts on it. Peyton Manning,
true competitor and legend, incredible.
Yeah. John Elway,
tough as nails and a leader of men.
Britton Colquitt,
smooth like butter. He was incredible smooth punter and huge for our playoff and Super Bowl run.
Sam Martin.
Sam's been great holder. Really enjoyed. Great friend of mine now. Can really bomb it, and like I said, he's a great holder for me.
Vic Fangio.
Good head coach. No, he's been great. He's really grown on me. We really became closer over these 3 years. Great defensive mindset. He's incredible defensive coordinator, and really has done a tremendous job of growing into a head coach now.
Yeah, he was a coach with the Saints when I was there for many years, and really enjoyed.
He said he stood behind you all the time and watched you kick and warm up. So he does that with me here too. So he still does exactly.
Yeah. We had a little saying every time we would see each other. We go, ho, ho, because every time I made a kick, when I would come to the sideline, he'd go, ho, ho, and he'd dap me up, you know.
All right, well, I'll say that to you.
Just one of those. Yeah, when you see him, you go, ho, ho, and he'll know that you talked to me.
I'll do it.
It's kind of a fun little. All right, man. DeMarcus Ware.
Cowboys legend, Broncos legend, to me, first ballot Hall of Famer as well. A specimen, a true freak at the position.
Aqib Talib.
My favorite teammate of all time, incredible knowledge of the football game. We were seatmates in team meetings and next to each other on the plane and listening to him talk about football. It's very similar to Peyton Manning on that ManningCast. His knowledge as a game is incredible, and he's one of the funniest people ever as well.
That's cool. Gary Kubiak.
Love Gary. Similar to Vic, I didn't get along with him great in the beginning, but and have been better friends with him now. And he was a holder. I wore number 8 after him. He was in number 8 back in the day, and really enjoyed learning football from him and situations like I talked about earlier. Really helped be a leader that we needed for that Super Bowl team.
Finally, Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley's awesome. We knew he was going to be a head coach for the Chargers. Very, very knowledgeable of football, and I think he's going to be great. I do think he's going to be a great leader. Von Miller talked so highly of him, and really enjoyed learning from him in the 1 year he was here.
So in 3-4 months, are we seeing the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl in LA?
I hope so. Obviously, that's what we're striving for. And as you know me, I'm going to continue to try and do my part to make sure we can win as many games as possible.
Yeah, I got you as one of the elite guys, Brandon. You've earned the right, and I know you continue to improve and to be better. I mean, and you're in a great spot right there. You represent us well. I appreciate your time today, man.
Martin. Appreciate it.
And I'm here to help you in any way I can. Just know that. My phone, you got my number. Call me anytime, even if it's a bump in the road or just a question about life or whatever, man. I'm here for you.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here again with you.